Okay. I have this bandana I got at Hobby Lobby for 99 cents. I got another one as well that's solid black. I do not know where it went. And I created a design that I wanted to put on it. And I drew that design. I spent a long time creating that design. Long enough that thankfully I remember it. Because I've lost it. I've lost that little piece of paper because I drew up this design probably about 2 months ago. I came up with this idea. I was working on a t-shirt for my father-in-law's birthday, and I did lots of little sketches. I knew I wanted to make some sort of monster t-shirt, so I did some sketches for a robot. I did lots of different little faces. I like some of them more than others. This whole page is all sorts of, I was playing with maybe like a fish or like this face, but this face was just a little too goofy. And I drew this bird, and I really liked this bird. Now the actual design I went with for his was this, and it's tweaked slightly, but it's for his t-shirt. But then this bird I just got really stuck on, and I was like, I really like how I did this bird. And it's supposed to be like a kind of like a chicken, but also not scientifically correct. So I drew up this design, which I think I'll just draw, because I like to have a reference for larger pieces. And so I drew up this design for this bandana, and then traveled, and that fell apart. But now I think I'm gonna make it. I wanted to do it black with the design being bleached on, but whatever it is about this material, maybe it was my bleach, I don't know. But it just wasn't working. So instead, I'm doing red with black for the design. So I just did it on a sticky note because it's already the right shape and I didn't have to cut anything. This is the quick sketch of the design. I'm gonna show it this way. It says buzzards, even though these are loosely based off of chickens. So it says buzzards because it's supposed to be from, maybe I'll still give it to my sister. I don't know. I do not have high hopes in this turning out well based on how the last one did. So if it turns out well, I'll probably give it to her. If not, it will probably get turned into scrap fabric and practice for sewing projects. But my brother used to get really annoyed if we called turkey vultures buzzards, because buzzards are a different kind of bird, so don't be stupid. Or at least that was my perception of it. But so it's a gift for my sister and antagonistic for my brother is what it's supposed to be. And then I'm just gonna draw it on here. I have plastic bags taped onto my desk so that I don't have to worry about ink or bleach seeping through onto my beautiful desk. I think the way I'm gonna do this, because I also don't want to seep through, but since it's a mirror, it should be okay if a little ink seeps through, I think. Okay, so the big birds go along the corner so that they can be big, and then there's like 3 sets of like bird faces, and then a letter in between in each. I also had space to write chickens, but that's not funny. I'm just gonna start with the little like plume of feathers up at the top. I'm sure someone can tell me if that's the correct term. I could Google it. So I start with the little plume, and then I do the eyes, because everything else is based around the eyes. Chickens' eyes are kind of on the sides of their head a little bit. So I do the big eyes, and then I want the little scrappy feathers to, like, for the eyes to kind of pop out and bulge out on the sides. And then also this bird has kind of a, oh, and then I do the beak before I really go to town with those feathers. I want him to be scrappy, but I also want him to be a bit of the shape of like a bowling pin. So there's like bigger strokes that kind of define the shape of the overall bird, and then other ones that just kind of add to the like overall scrappiness. So the way that I always have sketched it, because I've sketched this a billion times now, I do little plume, eyes, beak, feathers for the face, and then I do the legs so that I have an idea of those placement feathers for the body. This is what I have. This is it so far. And the placement's a little funny, but that's okay, because it's just a bird, and honestly it's probably not gonna be on display anywhere. This one is a little bulky because I did the head and the legs a little off center, but that's okay. It's just a stupid bird. And boom, first bird is done. I think I'm just gonna flip it since it's already folded. And do the other side now. The other thing, because this is now the second one. So this is just the head. That's all I've got so far. I just really messed up that first one on here, but I give him a bit of a beard. A lot of birds tend to have the like puffy like feathers on their chest. And so there's that, and then he doesn't really have a neck. So it kind of gives that separation between where the head and the neck are. Even though it's kind of shaped like a bowling pin, he also doesn't have a neck at the same time. So explain that, scientists. And I did the legs a little off center again. I think it's just harder to do on a large scale. And while most of his feathers are just straight lines, some of them are kind of V shapes. Like especially on the outside, like edges. This one's a fatty. Alright. This is what we've got so far. I think I like it a little more being the black ink on the red more than I did the bleach on the black. That might just be because it's leagues easier. The bleach just really was not taking. I think it might just be because this is kind of cheap plasticky fabric. But what can you expect? It was 99 cents. Plus I'm using a marker instead of a paintbrush. And that just makes it a little easier to do like fine lines. Even though these are kind of bold lines. So I've done the plume, the eyes, the beak. These chickens are so funny looking. Alright. Did the little beard. And now I'm gonna try to line these legs up a little better. I decided to do this YouTube channel because I don't love Instagram. I like to be able to take breaks from Instagram without feeling like I'm giving up on posting my art. And I don't really enjoy making short form content because I like to talk. I have lots and lots to say about the things that I do, and nobody wants to read a long caption, and Instagram just isn't the place for lengthy videos with long voiceovers. This guy looks like, this one looks like 3 kids in a trench coat, all stacked up on top of each other with the tiny little head poking out of the big old coat. But that's okay. But yeah, I just don't really like making short form content. Now, you may be wondering, Gloria, why are you gonna post this if this piece of art sucks and every single chicken you go, whoa, that looks bad? And I'll tell you, because I can. And because being a perfectionist just doesn't work. Not for me. Because I like messy artwork. I think it has a little more personality if you allow for just a little bit of raw edges rather than just pristine, smooth edges on everything. Second, it's more fun to make if my hands get a little dirty. That's why I like clay the most. It's just very hands-on. And second, what's the point of making things if I only share the things that are perfect? Because none of it will ever be perfect. And I do want to share the things that I really like and I'm really proud of. And sometimes I'm proud of a piece of work just because, oh, I learned a new thing. Or hey, I haven't made anything in a while, and so making anything at all was a big deal, kind of stuff. I just like to share my stuff, whether it's good or not. And so if I share everything, even the pretty bad ones, because, well, I learned a new skill, then it doesn't feel like every time I share something, I'm saying, look, this is my best work, because it's not always my best work, and that's okay. I will say when I think it is some of my best work. But also, posting on Instagram without a lengthy caption or voiceover explaining why makes me feel like a kid posting their own piece of artwork on the refrigerator without any parent going, whoa, this is really good, let me put it on the fridge. It feels like proclaiming, look, this is so good, everybody should look at it and be proud of me. When in reality, I don't think everybody should be proud of me for every little thing I do. Because, case in point, look at this buzzard. It's ugly. But it's probably the best of the 4. Okay. So now I'm going to start on the eyes and beak that, like, I'm doing 3 along, like the center between each of the chickens. Now, I could definitely be taking this slower and making it more perfect, but I kind of wanted this to be imperfect. I didn't want all of the chickens perfectly identical. If I wanted that, I would have designed it on a computer where I could do mirror image sort of stuff and printed it out. But that's not what I wanted. I wanted something handmade, hand-drawn, and that's just not going to be perfect, and that's that, and that's half the point. I don't want it to look like a machine did it, because I am not a machine. This video is like ripping a band-aid off. I had to just stop telling myself, no, that first video has to be perfect, because who gives a crap? I just needed to make something, and I needed to make a video of myself making something. Also, my husband's outside right now, so I don't have to worry about him listening to me talk to myself like a crazy person, although he does it too. But he's actually talking to himself and not a camera. And I'm talking to a camera, and I think that makes me a little less crazy. I will say drawing circles for the eyes, 10 bajillion times easier than with a paintbrush. Markers are just lots easier. Okay. That part is done. Let me look at it. I just think the black really pops on the red, and it looks nice. So now I start with the letters, and this is where I need the reference to remember which way I wanted it, because I could do doing it so that if you fold it in half this way, you see Buzz on one side and Ards on the other. But I wanted to do triangle because typically if you're folding a bandana in half, you're folding it this way, which is also part of why I wanted the chicken this way. And so I would much rather for one side to read Buzz than Dzba or Zar. So now this is where I was the laziest with how I wrote it on here. I do want to kind of stylize the letters a little bit. I really wish I could find the original piece of paper that I designed it so nicely on, but I can't, and no point in wishing. There's the U. Okay, and then the Z's are kind of fun. Right, yes. Z number 1, done. Z number 2, done. A will also be really easy, I think, because this section is pretty triangular. That's why U wasn't very easy. But A, I think I've decided that this will still go to my sister. Only problem I'm facing now is, does that mean that she can't see this until she gets it? She's one of my #1 supporters, just as a person. And which is why I decided, you know what, I should give it to her, even if it's not the greatest thing I've ever done. I think that she'll still think it's pretty cool, because she tends to be a little less critical of my work than I do. But that also means that she'd be pretty likely to sit down and watch a whole YouTube video I made. I'll just risk that she figures out who it's for. Not every gift has to be a surprise. Most of the gifts I give aren't. I'm really, really bad at giving gifts as a surprise. The t-shirt I made for my father-in-law, I gifted to him I think about a week early. It was a week or 2 weeks early, just because I was so excited to give it to him. And my husband said, no, you should wait. Why would I do that? R. 2 more letters. And just like that, the S is done. And so is the whole thing. I think it's funny when people making videos say things like, you guys look first. Dude, they're not gonna see this until you've edited the whole video, which means you've seen it 10 billion times by the time they see it. They did not get the first look. It's stupid. I think I'm going to add a center detail. Not how I had envisioned it, but that's okay. I think I'm pretty happy with it. definitely not perfect. I think I need to add some more feathers on this guy. Boom. My final note for this video, I think, is that when talking to a friend about, hey, I think I might start a YouTube channel. She said, okay, well, and this is very much paraphrased conversation, but she was like, okay, well, what would you call your channel? And I said, Getting Scriggled with Scraggle. So then she asked, well, what would you call your subscribers? And upon her insistence, I've decided to go with this decision. My channel will informally be known as Getting Scriggled with Scraggle, and my subscribers will formally be known as my Scriggles. You guys are Scriggles, and I'm Scraggle. If you choose to subscribe and subject yourself to such a fate.